Dating Skills Review, the central source for dating advice for men, brings you the Dating Skills Podcast.
Hey, this is Angel Donovan, your host for Dating Skills Podcast. This week, I'm interviewing Alan Roger Currie, a dating author with a very direct and straightforward method that he calls Mode 1. As you'll see in the interview, this could also be called the brutal honesty method. Alan developed this method in his early 20s, that's over 15 years ago, after seeing an actor demonstrate the behavior in a movie. Over the last 15 years, Alan has published several books on his method, became a mainstream contributor for dating advice on AskMen.com, the largest men's lifestyle website, and became a well-known face and highlight at direct game conferences. To stay up to date with the latest podcasts, reviews, news, and other free downloads from Dating Skills Review, go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/datingskillsreview and hit like. If you are more of a Google Plus guy, here's a cool new trick. Google Dating Skills Review, and you'll see a big Google Plus Dating Skills Review box appear to the right of the search results. Hit the box's follow button, and you're done. Now let's get started with this week's interview. When did you get into all of this, and how did it start about? Was it quite a long time ago, I think, for you?
Yeah, the true starting point, I would say, was the summer in between my senior year in high school and my freshman year in college. I was over friends, and this friend had a thing where whenever his parents weren't around, he would pop in a porno movie. And so, yeah, we would watch these porno movies, which in retrospect is kind of weird. I don't know if I would watch a porno movie in a room full of guys. But that's what we would do. Not like it was a regular thing.
You know, that's what you do when you're kids. I think everyone's been through that.
Yeah, so he would pop in these porno movies, and most of them I would kind of, watch mainly for the sex scenes or whatever. Yeah. But if there was one movie that caught my interest more so than just for the sex, for the story period, was this movie called Talk Dirty to Me. Mm-hmm. Starring this legendary adult film actor named John Leslie, who passed away just a couple years ago. And in the movie, he plays this character, this kind of womanizing slacker named Jack. And his main thing was that he would approach women and say some of the most boldest, provocative, sexually straightforward comments to women that at that time, I had never seen a man do that at the first time I watched that film, either in real life or on film. I'd never seen a guy do that. And so it caught my attention. I was like, wow, this guy is really bold and straightforward. And yeah, the movie starts off with him. He seduces this doctor, and she first gives him a very negative reaction. But then as the conversation goes on, she ends up giving in to him. Next thing you know, she's sucking his dick. And I'm like, whoa. And my older brother, he was kind of like, okay, man, you looking like you treating it a little too real. You got to remember, this shit's scripted. That you can't be that bold in real life with a woman.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I didn't agree with him on that, because 2 or 3 years later, I thought about that film, and that coupled with, there were some women I was cool with in college who would kind of complain to me. They would say, Alan, let me ask you something. I said, what's up? They say, how come guys will give you the impression that they really care about you and really into you and really want like a long-term relationship with you, but then once you have sex with them for a couple weeks or a month or two, all of a sudden they just dump you and you never hear from them again? And I would say, well, that's simple. Those guys never wanted any type of long-term relationship with you in the first place. They just wanted to fuck. Oh, so that's it. Well, why don't they just say that? Why don't they just, I would always hear women say, they would say, why don't they just say that? I say, because most men are afraid to let women know straightforwardly that they just want to fuck. So then I found myself going to some of my male friends and frat brothers. I would ask them, I say, hey, let me ask you something. How come when you want casual sex, you'll pretend like you want a relationship? Oh, man, all the guys do that. That's what you got to do with women, man. When you first meet women, you got to lie to them and bullshit them. You can't let women know what you're really thinking, which is why the subtitle of my book is called Mo 1, Let the Women Know What You're Really Thinking. Because so many guys would use that phrase. They would say, man, when you first meet women, you can't let them know what's really on your mind. You can't let them know what you're really thinking or what you really want from them.
Yeah.
And I would say that's bullshit. And so if you guys start challenging me, they'd be like, okay, the next time we're at a party, I dare you to just go up to a woman and say, all you want to do is fuck her. Tell her straight up that you don't want her to be your next girlfriend. You don't want nothing serious. That all you want to do is just fuck. I said, okay. So that's what I did. And in the back of my mind, I would think about Jack, John Leslie's character from Talk Dirty to Me. And what was interesting, to my pleasant surprise, I had this. If you were to watch this movie and see that opening scene with the doctor, and I was to show you a videotape of some of my early interactions with women, man, they were almost just alike. It would almost be like this pattern. For the first 4, 5, 6 minutes or so, women would give me a very adverse reaction, like, oh my God, I don't believe you're talking to me that way. Oh my God, you're some kind of creep or something. You must be some kind of jerk or asshole. I can't believe you're just telling me you want to fuck me. I'm not the kind of girl. I'm not a slut. I'm not a whore. Blah, 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 blah. And what I borrowed from Jack was, I noticed in the film when a female physician was going off on him, he was extraordinarily cool, calm, and collected. He was just like, it was like everything she was saying was going in one ear and out the other. So that's what I would do with women. When women would start getting real theatrical with me and basically, let me have it, I would just look at them dead in the eye and kind of have a Bruce Willis type smirk on my face. And I would just keep saying stuff like, so, we fucking tomorrow or the next day? Or we fucking next Friday or 2 Fridays from now? And at first they would sigh, go, I can't believe you. But then, sure enough, not all the women, but a high percentage of the women, what I would notice, once they would see that I wasn't going to back down from anything I said, that I wasn't going to apologize for anything I said, they would give in. They would say stuff like, you so nasty. You nasty. Then they would write down the number, or many times I would end up fucking them that night, or if not fucking them, getting my dick sucked. And I think the turning point, at least for my brother, anyway, what made him a believer was we went to this 24-hour grocery store in Bloomington, Indiana. It's still down there, actually. It's Kroger's. And it was about 1:30, 2 in the morning. We were coming back from a party. And this attractive woman got out this car about 3 parking spaces from where my brother parked his car. And my brother actually noticed her first. He was like, damn, she is hot. Man, look at her in that mini skirt. And I was like, I bet you I could get a number. And he's like, there you go. So you Mr. Confident, huh? You think you're going to hook up with her real soon, huh? I said, I bet you I can fuck her within the next week or 2. And he said, okay, Mr. Confident. So I went in the store, got my few groceries. Then I saw her in the aisle by herself. She was in the shampoo aisle. And I approached her. And initially, I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. I looked at her dead in her eyes. Well, first she turned around and looked at me because she was facing the shampoo. And then I just I was a little behind her and to the side. And I just looked at her. She turned around, and I just looked in her eyes. And then she said, didn't someone teach you that it's rude to stare? And I just was like, so? And she kind of gave me a look like, well, aren't you something? And she asked me what my name was. I said, Alan. And then she asked me the question and I opened the door. She said, no, first she said, so, Alan, are you going to help me choose shampoos? I never can make up my mind which one to buy. I said, she said, okay. I said, do I look like I'm a man who really gives a fuck about women's shampoos? She giggled a little bit. She said, wow, you're really a piece of work. Then she said, so, Alan, tell me, if your mind is not on helping me choose a shampoo, what is your mind on right now? And it was one of those, I'm glad you asked. I was like, I want to just lean you against a wall, lift up that cute, sexy miniskirt you got on, and put my hard dick all in your pussy and fuck the shit out of you. And she just was like, oh my God, wow. Oh my God, I don't believe you just said that. I don't believe you just I've never, ever had a man say anything that bold or straightforward in a first conversation. Oh my God, I don't believe. I was just like, hey, believe it. I said it. So, when we fucking, she's like, I don't even know you. I was like, yeah, that makes the fucking more spicy when you don't know me. And then she started giggling. Once I started giggling, I started moving closer to her. And then I just boldly put my hand like underneath her skirt and just start palming her ass. And she wasn't stopping me. So then I just leaned in and started kissing her. We started kissing. And she could feel my dick getting hard because she said something like, oh, I can tell you're really happy to be sharing my presence right now. You're happy to see me. And I said, yeah. I said, you want to see it? And she gave me a look like, I dare you to pull it out in this store. And so, yeah, I pulled out my dick right there in the store. And then I put my hands on her shoulders to gesture for her to get on her knees. And she followed suit. And she starts sucking my dick in the grocery store.
Wow, that's like that, you know, that's like the porno movie right there.
Yeah. Yeah, she starts sucking my dick in the store. Then we got caught by this stock boy. He's about, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years old. I bet you to this day, I tell friends, I bet you he's telling somebody that story right now. Hey, man, when I was like 16, I was working in this store, right? And this guy was getting his dick sucked in the aisle. But yeah, he looked, and then he did a double take like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Anyway, that kind of freaked her out. So she gave me the keys to her car and told me to wait. She described the car, but I actually knew what her car, because I had seen her get out of it. I said, I know what your car is. She said, okay, wait for me. I'll be out in a few minutes. And so I went and sat in her car. No, here's the funniest part. I came out, my brother was still in his car. And I walked out the store, and I walked like I was coming back to his car. Then I just stopped. And my brother gave me a look like, like, why you stopping? Then I just dangled up her keys and pointed at her car. And he had a look, it was just priceless. Like, get the fuck out of here. You are fucking kidding me. And I went and sat in her car, and I kept looking at him, smirking. And she came out about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 minutes later. And we talked for maybe about 30, 45 seconds. And then you just, from his angle point, you just saw her head go into my lap. And she started continuing to suck my dick. And my brother was just looking like, what the fuck? So me and him always reminisce about that night, because that was the night. That was more, well, significant for both of us, because for him, like I said, it was the night that made him a believer in Mode 1 behavior.
Right.
And then for me, that was when he first suggested that I put it on paper.
Okay, so when was that? How old were you then?
I was 22. Yeah, I want to say I was 22 when that happened.
Great. It's a fantastic story. Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't had something like that on the podcast before.
Yeah, and that's the night he said, man, you need to put this on paper, because he said if you're getting results like that, you're on to something. And what's interesting, it took him literally about 10, almost 15 years worth of persuading to get me to finally publish it, because I didn't finally publish it as a paperback from that grocery store incident. Oh, yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, because, well, first of all, at that time, I didn't call it Mode 1. I would just call it bold, straightforward behavior. The night, and I mentioned this in the book, if you've read it, the night that provoked me to first start calling it Mode 1, I was driving in Gary, Indiana, and I saw this young lady on a bus stop who I recognized as being one of my late mother's former students. My mother used to be a teacher in this gifted and talented program. And saw this woman who I recognized, so I offered her a ride. And at first she looked at me like I don't know you. I ain't getting in no car with you. I don't know you. And I said, was it Mrs. Currie, your teacher? She said, oh, yeah, Mrs. Currie. I love Mrs. Currie. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm her son. She said, oh, okay. So she got in the car, and she on this like black sweater with these black leggings that are now very popular among women. You know how women wear those tight leggings that might as well look like black paint on their body? That's kind of what she had on. It was real sexy. And it was interesting because if there was one woman I was kind of scared to be Mode 1 with, was women who were the daughters of friends of my parents. You know, those are women I would always try to be Mr. Gentleman around and stuff. So initially I started being that way with her. And she could tell I wasn't really into her conversation. She started talking about a whole bunch of stuff that I just really didn't care about. And honestly, as a lot of people do, I think you probably know friends who do this, a lot of times when we listen to boring conversations, we'll play the role. We'll pretend like we're interested in what they're saying, like we're listening.
Right.
But most of us won't be bold enough to say, I don't give a fuck about what you're talking about. But that night, I just decided I wasn't going to be phony. So she asked me, she said, Alan, I can tell you're not even really listening to me. And normally I would have said, no, of course I am. Yeah, you know, go ahead. But like I said, I just felt in a different mood. So I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I said, I could give a fuck all that bullshit you're talking about. And she said, oh my God, I don't believe you just said that. I said, the only thing that's on my mind right now is slowly sliding those leggings off your body and fucking the shit out of you. And she was just like, what? What did you say?
Yeah, that took some guts.
And I said, you heard me. I said, I didn't stutter when I said it. I said, I'm thinking about slowly sliding them leggings down and fucking the shit out of you. And she just was like, wow, I do not believe you just said that to me. I said, well, believe it. So at first she had the demeanor of a woman that was offended. And even in my mind, I was kind of like, damn, Alan, I think you just offended her. But I was like, fuck it, so be it. And, but then, to my surprise, we got to this point where it was this intersection, and nearby this intersection was this motel. And she said, you see that motel? I said, yeah. She said, why don't you go to the parking lot of that motel? I'm thinking, okay. So we get to the parking lot of the motel, just park there, and she just looks at me. She just stares at me for a long time. I'm wondering, okay, what is she thinking? Then finally she says, She says, what you said threw me for a loop, but you'll be interested to know it did not create the reaction that you probably think it created. I said, okay, what reaction do you think that I think it created? She said, well, you're probably thinking that I'm, very pissed at you right now, very offended by you right now. I said, no, to be quite frank with you, I said, no, that's not what I'm thinking. I said, I'm thinking that what I said got your pussy wet and you don't know how to process it. And she said,
This is something you can work on. You can get good at this. You can master it like you master martial arts or skiing or playing an instrument. That is what was fun for me. Just believing that it's possible to improve makes the whole thing fun.
Totally. Totally. An interesting thing you just